Hi everyone, welcome back to the next instalment of the Nowhere Emporium. Let's find out what else his magical boy can do. After 30 seconds or so, the book thudded to the bare stone floor. Sharp's face remained calm, but the boy could see that something in his eyes had changed. "Everything all right in there?" came the master's voice from out in the hallway. Neither the boy nor the tall man answered. "Why aren't you scared of me?" asked the boy. Sharp said nothing. For the first time, the boy was aware of how strikingly blue his eyes were. Without warning, every remaining book on the shelves soared into the air and began to circle and swoop around the room, never colliding, though there were many of them. The boy's mouth fell open. He watched and watched until Sharp glanced towards the bookcase, and in seconds the books were back, each in exactly the spot it had previously occupied. Vindictus Sharp flattened out a crease on one of his leather gloves. His blue eyes met the grey eyes of the boy. "I'm not afraid of you," he said, "because I am a monster as well." A doctor from the city asylum arrived at the orphanage early next morning. He had been called upon to evaluate one of the boys, a child who had been involved in unexplained and occasionally violent incidents. When the master led him down the narrow stairs to the dark corridor and opened the door, he was at a loss to explain where the boy might have gone, or why several of the books were missing from the bookcase. The doors to the building were locked immediately, and every inch of the place searched. But there was no trace of the child. He had simply vanished. The master had no recollection of ever having answered the door the previous night. He possessed no memory of Vindictus Sharp in his impeccable suit, or how he had led him to the boy in the basement. He certainly could not remember how he himself had helped pack the child's belongings and seen them safely out. That night, and every night thereafter, the master would dream of a man and a boy walking together through the falling snow. Though he ran, he could never quite catch them up. Chapter 5, Through the Doors. We are back in Glasgow, present day. Daniel's eyes cracked open a fraction. He screwed up his face at the sunlight flooding the room. He sat up and rubbed his eyes with a knuckle. The blurred edges of his mind began to focus. He lay in a small, comfortable bed in a cosy room with an arched wooden roof. At the opposite end of the room were two doors, one of which was open. Through the open door, Daniel could hear the sound of birdsong and the babbling whisper of running water. He shuffled to the edge of the bed, swung his legs from beneath a thick duvet. His bare feet sank into a deep carpet. Memories came bursting back, of running through Glasgow, Spud chasing close behind, of the horror as the car came towards him, of hitting the hard ground. Daniel climbed from the bed and stumbled towards a small mirror that hung between the doors. He gazed at his reflection, expecting to see cuts and bruises, but there were no marks on him, no sign that he had been hurt at all. A great fear began to build in his chest. His lungs tightened, his head spun. What if he had been hit by a car? "Am I dead?" he thought. He did not have time to contemplate this question, because a flicker of movement drew his attention to the window, and he realised that a girl was staring at him through the glass. He stumbled backwards as she moved to the door. She stood in the doorway, brushing long wild curls from her grey eyes. She looked him up and down, arms crossed. "Enjoy your snooze, did you?" she said. "Nice and comfy?" She looked around the room and shook her head. "Unbelievable. This is nicer than my room." "Who are you?" said Daniel. "Where am I? Am I dead?" The girl screwed up her face and took another step into the room. "Dead? What are you going on about? Why would you be dead?" Daniel blinked. But I was standing right in the middle of a busy road. A car was going to hit me. The girl tapped her foot on the floor. He must have saved you. I wonder why. What's your name? Daniel, said Daniel. Who are you talking about? Who must have saved me? But the girl was already opening the blue door, the one that had been closed. This is all very strange, she said. No one new ever shows up here. She narrowed her eyes. Nobody real anyway. Stay put. I'm going to find out exactly what's been going on. And she slipped off through the blue door before Daniel could even ask her name, or why she was so interested in him, or what she meant about nobody real ever showing up. Daniel patted himself on the chest. He felt real. He certainly didn't feel dead. Then again, how would he know what being dead felt like? He stared at the door through which the girl had left and tried the handle, but the door was locked. So he went to the second door, the open one. A hilltop view lay before him, patchwork fields and a forest beyond, under a crystal blue sky. The air was warm and sweet as honey. Daniel stepped down some narrow wooden stairs into a meadow of waist-high grass. He realised he'd been in a wooden caravan, the sort of wagon he imagined travelling folk might use, or circus performers in olden times. The wagon was painted a deep shimmering blue, decorated with golden flourishes. Something struck him then. If this was all real, how could that girl possibly have left through a door inside the wagon? He was thirsty. His tongue was sticking to the roof of his mouth. He moved towards the stream, bent down and drank. The water was ice cold and pure, and probably the best drink he'd ever had. Ah, awake, I see. At the sound of the voice, Daniel spat out a mouthful of water, spun, caught a fleeting glimpse of a dusty grey suit, and then tripped over his own tangled feet, tumbling to the grass. Oh, very graceful, said the man in the suit. The Royal Ballet would be knocking at the door any time now. Daniel scrambled to his feet, rubbing his elbow, and recognised the owner of the Nowhere Emporium immediately. You? What are you doing here? What am I doing here? Am I dreaming? The man in the dusty suit scratched his nose. His wild hair swayed in the breeze. We're all dreaming, Daniel Holmes, in our very own way. Follow me, if you will. At this, he turned and marched up the wooden steps into the wagon. Daniel hurried after him. Wait, where's the girl? He asked, once they were inside. Girl? The man said. Don't bother yourself with her. You have more important things to think about at the moment. He opened the blue door and indicated the shadowy beyond. This way. All will be explained soon. Daniel took a slow step towards the door. He peered through. That's not right, he said. That can't be right. Beyond the blue door was a square entrance hall, like the inside of a castle, that seemed to climb up and up forever, crisscrossed with 100 or even 1,000 entangled and intertwining stairways, all lit by the flickering glow of torchlight. The man in the suit stepped into the hall. Don't look so worried, he said. Nothing can harm you in here. I checked the corridors yesterday, caught the last of the escaped lions. He wheeled away and began to stride across the hall. Daniel was unsure what to do. He watched the man in the suit, and then his eyes widened. Lions? He said. Hey, wait up, wait. I'm going to leave it at the end there at chapter 5. So very peculiar that it's the owner of the Nowhere Emporium that seemed to be rescuing Daniel. Join me again tomorrow at 1 o'clock for the next chapter. Bye.